Division. All the information that we will share today will be put on our city's newsroom. A press release will be sent out, and we'll also have things on our social media channel. We are excited today to bring you a case update on an investigation series that spans multiple states and countries. In August of last year, we announced the arrest of a suspect involved in a residential break-in series believed to be coordinated by criminal groups in South America. Today, we are announcing 3 more arrests linked to these South American groups. Again, this is a worldwide trend of organized crime that has popped up locally here in Charlotte. These criminal groups are often referred to as crime tourists, coming from other countries into the United States to specifically target wealthy households before returning to their country of origin. For more information on these arrests and the investigations, I'll turn it over to our Patrol Southwest Service Area Major, Jonathan Thomas.
Morning, everyone. I'm Major Jonathan Thomas. I oversee the Westover, Still Creek, and South Divisions. These 3 latest arrests stem from investigations into break-ins occurring primarily in the Still Creek Division between September of 2023 and June of 2024, but a few of them did expand into other parts of our jurisdiction. The suspects were identified, as the 3 you see on the screen here, as 49-year-old Alexander Panameno, 33-year-old Anuar Novateno, and 34-year-old David Caseta Delgado. All 3 suspects are Colombian nationals. Mr. Panameno and Mr. Novateno have been identified and charged in at least 18 cases just in Charlotte alone, and they are potentially linked to more than 50 cases across the U.S. Mr. Caseta Delgado primarily served as the getaway driver and is charged so far in 1 case in Charlotte and is under investigation for multiple cases outside of Charlotte, with more cases pending for all 3 of these subjects, we believe. These break-ins occur across approximately 9 months, following some similar circumstances. Generally, the suspects broke into homes during daytime hours through a back door when the homes were unoccupied, forcing entry if needed. They generally stole jewelry, safes, cash, and electronics. The victims who were targeted also had certain similarities in demographics, which helped link these cases. One of our issues, though, was we would get 2 or 3 of these cases to occur in a batch, and then this group would leave, as has been happening with these types of group, go away for a month, perform burglaries in another jurisdiction, and then come back. So it was a trend that was tough to identify. It was coming up almost cyclical. Although the suspects were covered up from head to toe, there were similar clothing captured on surveillance footages across these incidents. The suspects wore high-visibility clothing, bright orange or bright yellow, to appear as if they were doing construction or lawn care work, helping them avoid suspicion in the area during the daylight hours. Neighbors or possible witnesses would see it going on, and it just looked average for them. Somebody was doing construction next door to the neighbor. In May of 2024, through surveillance footage and evidence collected from several of these cases, detectives identified several suspect vehicles that were used to commit similar crimes in both Iowa and Texas, as well as Charlotte. We got this information through. To combat this, our detectives have formed relationships with the detectives that are having these problems across the country. So it might be an email out to a group, hey, has anybody seen it, that we would get a picture of the work van they were using? Yeah, I've had 2 cases like that. And through compiling this work, they were able to identify these people and lead us in the right direction. And it was at this time that the detectives identified Mr. Panameno and Mr. Novateno as the suspects. In June, detectives were conducting surveillance on one of the suspects' vehicle, a white Ford Transit van. On June 7th, detectives tracked the vehicle to a location on Tribune Drive in the Freedom Division. Mr. Panameno and Mr. Novateno were witnessed breaking into a home and were arrested at that time. Officers additionally arrested Mr. Caseta Delgado, who was confirmed as the driver of the van. Detectives then obtained a search warrant at a home connected to the suspects and the suspect vehicles on Walker's Cove Trail in the Freedom Division. At that location, detectives located and seized approximately 200 watches, numerous pieces of jewelry, and designer handbags with an approximate value of $130,000. Detectives also seized tools, clothing used in the burglaries, as well as more than $12,000 in cash. This is still an active investigation that spans multiple jurisdictions, and more charges are expected to be filed against these suspects. There was a lot of investigative work done here. It's too much to describe, really. Like I said, not just the detectives here, our crime response units that were doing the surveillance, making the quick decision after that, but then tying everything together. One really good detective in Still Creek Division, he was the linchpin of this, but if he couldn't have done it without the partnerships of all these other agencies around the country. Very proud of the work that's been involved in this. These groups, like I've said and we've said in the past, they're highly skilled. These are not juveniles that are running up, kicking in the door, and grabbing something. What makes these tourist criminals or SAT-G groups different? They do surveillance. They do research on their victims. They profile, like if you own this type of business, you might have extra cash at your house or you might have jewelry. They were found with surveillance devices that they were using to surveil people. In other parts of the country, they've used drones. They've used thermal imagers. They try not to hit a house with someone in it, but at times they have. We haven't seen any acts of violence from them to where they intentionally harm somebody or do a hostile style takeover of the house. In one of these cases, there was someone home, and that produced a higher level charge for us. But we do think that when they hit these houses, they want it to be unoccupied. They just occasionally mess up in that aspect. When a case is closed in Charlotte, it may help close a case in Virginia, Florida, Texas, or Iowa, and vice versa. Like I said, the police departments have had to up our game and really develop our own information network for these groups. Currently, residential burglaries in the Still Creek Division are down 15% year to date, and we think it's arresting groups like this can really make impact on our total crime numbers. One of the things, or several of the things, we want our residents, regardless of jurisdiction in Charlotte, to be vigilant and to protect themselves against residential burglaries. There's some simple things that you can do to keep your home from being an easy target. Utilize deadbolts, install window locks, have good exterior lighting. If you have a safe, make sure it's bolted to the floor or that weighs too much to be carried out by a person. A safe should weigh at least 200 pounds. We have had several of these cases where people have, I'm just going to call it the Walmart safe, and these groups will pick up a safe and carry it out weighing up to 150 pounds. So make sure that it's not, if you have a safe, that it can actually be secured in your home and not carried out. If you have an alarm, make sure it's operational and registered with the CMPD. Notify your trusted neighbors when going out of town or if you're expecting construction work. At this time, we'll open it up for questions.
How many total incidents are related to these individuals?
Right now, 19 warrants. We're looking at, like I said, the possibility of several more warrants. It could go as high as 100 if you count all of our surrounding jurisdictions. But the solid cases, without any more information, I think we're going to probably end up with a few more. Yes, ma'am.
You keep on mentioning their tourist thefts. What kind of visa or what allows them into the country, and does that expire or what?
I'm not an expert on visas. It's not our department doesn't do it. I can't tell the legal or illegal immigration status of these people when we arrest them. In our county, that's up to the sheriff's department and their level of communication with Homeland Security or Customs.
Okay, so someone can just be in the country longer than expected, even though they said there is a tourist. Or
I'm not sure they had a visa.
And any indication where the product was going to, like they're selling this on Facebook, or is it going out of the country, or? I
believe some of it's sold here just due to some of it is not high-end merchandise. It could be flea markets. It could be Facebook, like you said. We see where there's a lot of communication back and forth with New York. Like I said, it probably ends up in stores there. The cash, the currency, everything, we believe, a lot of it goes back to their home country.
Was there any drugs that you know of involved?
No drugs. No drugs that we found. Just a lot of stolen merchandise.
Weapons or anything?
No, but at least two of these individuals had been previous members of their country military. That's where they might have picked up a lot of the skills they had in surveillance and planning operational.
And what was the time frame again, you said, from?
Sorry. Actually, they'll have all that on. They'll have everything for you there. It was over a year.
Over a year.
Any more? Yes, sir.
Any connection to, there was a similar case happening in Wade County recently. I believe they were Chilean origins.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same thing, traveling. Is there any connection to them or just connected?
That's where, there's a broad blanket where we call this SAT-G, South American Theft Groups. These guys were Colombian. The ones that we had identified from a lot of the other division cases last year were mostly Chilean. Very similar styles, very similar MOs, but I don't think that they're coordinating that level. But it does seem to be, this group hits this style home. This group purely targeted this style and had a very unique pattern. And we're traveling around the country. We're talking mainly with Iowa and Texas right now because that's where we know they went and we know cases are pending there.
These individuals went to Iowa and Texas.
Yes, at least while we had them under surveillance. There's probably a lot more, like I said, we're going to find.
And you said the number of homes in Charlotte that's going to be in the release.
Yes.
And are all three in custody currently, or?
2 are in custody. 1 has been released. We're hoping for more pending, or for more charges that'll put him back in custody.
Is that the driver?
Yes. Yeah, he only had the 1 charge that we could do from that, but like I said, this case is not ended yet.
And which one is the driver?
Excuse me. Casado Delgado.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good work, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us today. As we said in the beginning, all of this information, along with the graphics, will be released in our press release, put on our city's newsroom, and on our social media channels. If you need the spelling of Major Jonathan Thomas's name, it's JONATHANTHOMAS. Thank you.